Hey, hi, hello. Welcome to Diana Emerson today. We're listening to Killer Cases, and this is Murder in the Cul De Sac. 911 right there, say, you assume paramedics. I think he shot everybody. He has a handgun, he's shooting everybody. I'm just so scared. I'm scared he's going to come try to find me. Please.
Information about a deadly rampage in a St. Johns County neighborhood. Investigators say James Colley shot and killed his wife and her best friend.
There's 5 children that lost their mothers on that day.
Little League baseball games are attended with impact. Can you chair? For women, you sit down and watch Patrick play.
Always take domestic violence seriously because you never know at what point it might escalate and something happen like what happened to Amanda.
This is what he's going to tell you. I didn't get out of that situation.
And I grabbed the gun.
I'm not the first place to put a body. No, sir. The only thing they could do was kill him.
You want to say anything? We, the jury, would find the defendant.
It's a planned community with pools. It's a very nice neighborhood, a very nice area of our counties. I mean, the entire portrait of this family just didn't speak to something that would end in such violence and bloodshed.
Amanda and J.R. Colley had been married for 8 years.
She was the life of the party. She was outgoing, gregarious. Everybody wanted to be friends with her. Amanda, she lit up a room and she was gorgeous and confident. I mean, she was the perfect package. She was everything you would want in a friend.
James is a very personable man. He could easily become a friend with somebody. He worked in the banking industry. He worked in the mortgage department. Kids, he was great. I mean, he spent all the time he could with the kids. He coached their teams. He took them on vacations.
But friends began to hear not everything was wonderful at the Colley home.
He was jealous of her spending time with friends. You would have to be a strong person and be very self-confident to be with Amanda because she was so friendly.
I think he probably drank too much. If he started drinking, sometimes it was hard to stop. We all have some demons, but I think his probably ran a little deeper, and he did abuse things on occasion.
She tried to make it work as long as she could. And when it came to the point where the scales tipped to where his behavior was affecting the family, then I think that's when she decided that this needs to be, we just need to separate, this needs to be over.
The separation papers were filed in the middle of July, but J.R. would still come to visit.
It would go from, 3 days of being a family to 3 days of don't talk to me, to 3 days of being a family to 3 days stay away from me. It came out in court that they had sex together. And she said, well, I felt like I had to in order to, keep him happy so I wouldn't get hurt.
She had a new beau, even though that was something that she kind of kept to herself from her husband.
He had a girlfriend. I mean, he had already moved on, but he still didn't want to let go of Amanda.
On a weekend that Amanda was away, J.R. sneaked into the house.
Mad that, thinking whatever he was thinking about where she was and what she was doing.
He gathered her clothes out of the closet and burned them in the backyard. That's not normal behavior.
Amanda filed for divorce and a temporary injunction to keep J.R. away from the home, writing in the court papers, J.R. would cut me up or kill me if he ever found out I was cheating.
And part of the reason why I think it took Amanda so long to take action was because he did try to be a good father to the kids, and she did not want to, nobody goes into it wanting to have a divorce. course, nobody wants to tear apart their family to be torn apart.
JR had asked neighbors in the Cul De Sac to keep an eye on Amanda and the house, to report if anyone was visiting her. He received this picture from a neighbor of a bare-chested man mowing the lawn at Amanda's house.
And I think once he found out that was too much, that was confirmation of, okay, this is the guy.
JR also sent messages to the neighbor who had taken the picture. Over the next 6 hours, Cully would become increasingly enraged. A neighborhood surveillance camera saw J.R. Cully's car heading to Amanda's home.
Nobody was home. Amanda was not there. He ransacked the house and destroyed TVs and furniture and walls.
As he's looking around, he finds clothes, men's clothes that he knows aren't his, and then he searched some more and he found some sex toys that he knew that was never any part of our relationship.
And I think that this infuriated him, and he began calling Amanda to tell her that he was at the house and he found these things and he was angry.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system.
Really funny you don't want to talk yet, huh? You know what? We don't need to talk. Don't do nothing to me. I won't do nothing to you. I won't bring this up in court about what you really are. And we both know what you really are. You're lucky I don't tell our children about this, Amanda. You're disgusting. That's what you are.
Make you raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Yes, sir.
Cully had been in court that very morning.
He was coming to court for a violation of that injunction for having contact with her.
And the night before, he had been drinking. He can't sleep. He takes some Ambien because he'd been prescribed that.
Put your hand down. Please tell me your full name. Mr. Collins, how old are you, sir? 35. Have you ever been treated for any mental illness? No. Are you now under the influence of any intoxicant?
The judge was unaware of Cully's rampage just a few hours earlier at Amanda's home and agreed to let Cully attend anger management classes instead of being sent to jail.
This is going to be unsupervised probation. And Mr. Colley, you wish to enter a plea to charge? No contest? All right, the plea is accepted. Adjudication will be withheld, which means this is not a criminal conviction on your record. You'll be placed on 12 months of unsupervised probation with early termination if you complete everything earlier.
So he ended up getting a better deal than he had originally anticipated.
All right, so in addition to that, you have no violent contact with Amanda Colaninger. All right. Mr. Veteran, is all you had? That's all I have. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. Next case. Next case, Judge.
He had his employee badge on and he was dressed in like slacks, collared shirt, like he'd be going to work.
And when he left court, he tried to call Amanda.
Please talk to me. Please. Amanda, I'm out of court. Please talk to me. Maybe please, this is the last time I'm calling her, begging. Please.
She picks up the phone and they have about a 14-minute phone call. Something happened in that call, and instead of going to work, he went He missed one stop at a gas station, filled up his tank, and out of that when he bought beer.
It's now 10:11 in the morning, and J.R. Colley is heading to South Bellagio Drive. In the car are two fully loaded guns.
St. Paul County Sheriff's Office 1. Hi, my sister lives at 260 South Bellagio Court. She has an injunction against her husband. They're going through a divorce. Apparently, he broke into her house about 4:30 this morning and busted every TV in the house. I'm not sure if she called to report it, but I want to make sure.
Amanda had returned home and was taking stock of the damage from J.R.'s rampage a few hours earlier. With her was the man she was dating, Lamar, and two friends.
Lindy Dobbins and another friend, Rachel Hendricks. And I'm here with Rachel Hendricks, who's being sworn recorded interview.
Rachel would later describe what happened that day at Amanda's house.
Gave Amanda a hug immediately. She was crying on my shoulder. She was very upset over the way that the house was trashed and ransacked.
The sheriff's office actually responded to the residence, and she declined to write a report.
She didn't want to press charges on James because she did not want to have him put in jail for a year and be away from his kids for 1 year.
So the sheriff's officer left the scene.
James is traveling to the residence at that point. He parked behind the residence. Amanda and Rachel, Lindy, and Lamar are all in the living room kitchen area. They look out the window and see him.
I looked over at Lamar. I said, "What the hell?" Lamar saw and screamed gunshots, and he ran. I never saw him again.
Surveillance video from a neighbor shows Lamar running down the street away from the house.
Me, Lindy, and Amanda were obviously screaming, and I'm just screaming, "Hide, hide."
Amanda, Lindy, and Rachel run into the master bathroom suite and hide. Amanda was on the phone with 911.
And I heard James's voice. And he was screaming at Amanda, and he wanted to know, where is he? Where is he? Where the F is he? He was looking for Amanda's boyfriend.
Put that down. Put it down. Hello.
And Lindy was also on the phone with 911 in the closet.
911.
James goes to the closet door and starts trying to get inside. Well, Rachel is holding the door from the inside, and he can't get in. And so he says, "Let me in or I'm going to shoot through this door." Well, he did.
Ma'am. That's gunfire? Oh my God. Go ahead. Shoot it down. The other line, somebody said put it down. It was the same area.
And he came into the closet, and he walked past me and walked up to Lindy. She screamed, "Oh my God, no." And he just shot her. He didn't say anything to her. Nothing, just shot her.
Rachel's standing behind the door, so when the door swings open, she's essentially concealed, which point Rachel circles out of the closet and runs.
The whole time I was running, I was thinking, he's going to shoot me from behind. Be prepared to fall. I'm going to get shot in the back.
He was in the house shooting, and I ran. I just ran. He's in paramedics. I think he shot everybody. He has a handgun. He's shooting everybody. We got people coming. I know. It's just, I'm so scared. I know, but she's taking drugs to get this. I'm so scared. I'm just, listen to me. I got grazed by a bullet. She said she got grazed by a bullet when he started firing, and she ran to the neighbors. But he point blank shot my friend that was right in front of me. I mean, I'm scared for my life. So Amanda? He shot Amanda, and he shot Lindy Dobbins, our other friend that was there with us. hiding in a closet at the neighbor's house. I'm scared to death.
Okay. What's your name?
My name is Rachel Hendricks. Oh my God. This is the worst thing that's ever happened in my entire life.
Yeah. Just hang on, okay? I'm gonna keep going.
I know. I'm just so scared. I'm scared he's gonna come try to find me. Please.
It was just such a tragic and appalling and just shocking incident of domestic violence. It really was off the scale.
Information about a deadly rampage in a St. Johns County neighborhood. Investigators say James Cawley shot and killed his wife and her best friend in the Mirabella neighborhood.
This case took over the local news when it happened. We were intensive covering the aftermath.
Several detectives are here. They're inside the home right now. Breaking news right now. 3 St. Johns County schools are on lockdown as police look for a shooter.
And our fear was that he was going to go take the kids.
Investigators are still actively searching for James Cawley.
We learned that he left the residence. He called his dad and his sisters and told them that he had shot Amanda and killed her.
What's your name, sir? James Cawley Sr.
What did your son tell you when he called you?
He told me he shot 2 people.
Was that his exact words, or?
Yes, he said, Dad, she's put me back in jail. Said I can't handle it no more. Said I don't know what to do. He said, you know, it's over. Said I'm trying to do everything I could, but she keeps on putting me in jail, aggravating me, and just won't let it go. He said, so I tell him what I had to do.
And he then went and got some items from his sister's house and began fleeing out of the state of Florida and went northbound. It was not academic. It was we need to find James Cawley and put him in jail.
I've got a report of a confinement.
The first sighting of James Cawley after the murder was in Virginia.
The vehicle with Florida tags following her, attempting to run her out of the roadway.
A woman was driving and he was behind her and continually trying to run her off the road.
People had me come from to a complete stop in the road and tried to get me. I had 3 small children in my car.
So police caught up and conducted a traffic stop on him and took him into custody. He was intoxicated. He didn't resist their efforts, but he was definitely intoxicated.
I drove here from Florida, 10 hours to talk to you. Get some answers, get your side of the story, everything that happened there.
He knew where I was from, and I read him his Miranda rights, and he immediately said that he wanted an attorney.
So I think you're going to need to take me back to Florida.
Okay.
So I can have an attorney so I talk to anybody.
It was a very uneasy feeling being near him, and I've been around many people who have committed similar crimes, but he had a different aura about him. Creepy.
Pretty early on, the horrific nature of these crimes, the type of crimes, we as prosecutors were already thinking ahead of, this could potentially be a death penalty case. And then our job ultimately became proving that it was, in fact, a premeditated murder. But in order to get the death penalty, we have cold calculated and premeditated as a factor and motive, and exactly how many opportunities Mr. Cawley had to stop and change course.
Cawley got the photo of Lamar mowing the lawn just a few days before the murder from his neighbor, Mike Dickens.
This is why I wanted to find out, was she cheating? And that's why I took that picture. I'm like, what? He said, man, all this and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, James, big deal. Big deal. You knew she was cheating. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows who the boyfriend is. She's cheating. You're going through a divorce. You filed for a divorce. Leave her alone. Mm-hmm. And said, don't let this ruin your life. This was, you see what time it was? He didn't give me nothing that he was going to do something stupid.
Hello, you have a prepaid call from
James Cawley,
an inmate at Duffield Regional Jail Facility.
Our investigators have access to jail calls.
Cawley was on the phone with his family almost every day after his arrest.
What kind of questions they ask you this morning?
Nothing about anything like that. Just am I thinking about killing myself? No. You know, are you thinking about killing yourself? No.
Are you sure you're okay, Bob? I've been concerned.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, just situation, but it's all right.
Collie wanted to know about his children.
Yeah, they know Amanda's gone, but they don't know how she's gone. Right.
Okay.
And the
What do they think about you?
Trey looked at Mom and Johnny, and he said, you know what, Uncle Johnny, I don't care what my daddy did. I'm going to love my daddy no matter what he did.
And Collie urged his family to make sure Amanda's relatives did not get custody of the children.
Well, that's my only really concern. Everything else, I don't really give a about, to tell you the truth. Once my kids are secure, once my kids are secure with you, I really don't give a what happens. Start throwing mud. Don't play nice.
It does give you a very good insight, even if they're not talking about their case, into their personality type.
Hey, is there any football on the night, Ashton?
Hey, Jared, when you're talking to that counselor, you just make sure that you don't say anything that'll incriminate yourself.
Yeah. I thought about it. And I was just going to say that, you know, what happened, and I don't remember anything from Thursday, and I kind of don't remember anything on Friday, a little bits and pieces, and then, you know, my memory started coming back, on Saturday, pretty much, and then all day Sunday, you know.
So we know, Bob, you just passed.
I remember things like, I'm going to be out of here in less than 20 years. You really think he's going to get a manslaughter conviction out of this?
I love all you guys.
Well, we love you too. You remember that, Bob, no matter what. We love you. I know, hey, Jay, can we say a prayer real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Dear Lord, please watch over my brother. You help him get home safely. Please watch over us and give us all safety to it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
While in jail, Collie also talked a lot with one of his cellmates, Andrew Cherry. And Cherry was quick to become a jailhouse informant and tell prosecutors what Collie had to say about the victims.
All the time goes around saying, he's blah, 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 and he got what they deserve, and all this other stuff. I mean, it's just real spiteful things. And
Who does he say that in reference to?
Amanda and Lindy.
That they got what they deserve?
Mm-hmm.
The decision was made to seek the death penalty, with Lindy's 911 call a major factor.
The victim knows of their impending doom, their impending death. That's psychologically heinous, atrocious, and cruel, that they're going through that mentally, and they know they're about to die. And she clearly knew she was going to die.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have now been selected as sworn as the jury to try the case of the state of Florida versus James Terry Colley Jr.
We knew he was going to be convicted of something. The plan was try to save his life so he didn't get the death penalty. Our whole defense was this never would have happened but for, the drinking the night before, the drugs the night before. He had to basically admit that he had committed the crime.
So even before the opening statements, Collie had to agree to the defense strategy before the judge.
Your lawyers will be admitting that you committed or discharged a firearm that resulted in the death of 2 folks. Is that your understanding? Unfortunately, yes, sir. Okay.
The guilt was overwhelming, and so the penalty is really what this case was going to be about.
Outstanding. Present your evidence.
It's disgusting. That's what you want. Call me, or I'm going to come find you. Whore. These are some of the last words Amanda Colley heard from her estranged husband on the morning she was murdered.
I do it to grab their attention. I don't think there's any better words to use against someone than their own words.
The state is confident that we will meet our verdict in this case and that you will have no doubt, that this is a case of premeditated murder and felony murder.
The question here is who did that? It's never been a question who did that. The question is, why did it happen? How did this happen? How could a person that loved his family in his life do that?
He started with an Ambien defense, that he was under the influence of Ambien when all of this occurred.
Usually, based on our witnesses, based on medication that was on, based on everything that took place, that won't be able to come back with a first degree conviction.
The prosecution's first witness was Rachel Hendricks.
She was our eyewitness that put James Colley there.
You saw Mr. Colley with a handgun in his hand when he came in the closet? Yes. Did you see him pointed at Lindy? Yes, and her head.
And nobody can tell that story like Rachel can.
Mr. Colley was trying to get to the bathroom door, saying, open the door, I'm going to shoot. The door came in on me. I backed up and let the door come in on me. And Mr. Colley walked past the door straight over to me, and I'm sorry to Lindy, was kneeling down. Heard Lindy say, oh my God, no. And I ran out of the closet and heard a shot and ran out the front doors of the home. Do you see James Colley in the courtroom there today? Yes, I do. He's sitting there. He's sitting at the table. Yes, yes.
And then the other survivor of the shooting.
David calls Lamar Dudley.
Amanda's boyfriend, Lamar Dubberly, the man seen cutting the lawn in the photo that so enraged James Colley.
Is that appear right here?
Yes, sir.
I think this bullet hole about the same time second shot came through, which was all part right in this area. And then I heard, where is he? Where is he? It was faint.
What did you do?
I thought that I was the target individual. And so I was armed.
On cross-examination, Colley's lawyer, Terry Shoemaker, asked about Amanda's sex life.
Were you aware of the fact that they were still having marital relations?
We didn't. I guess I'm done. Okay.
They're still sexually active.
I was not.
Mr. Dudley, were you aware of, I guess, some sexual toys that had been purchased by Ms. Colley?
Yes, sir. She gave me one.
Did you ever see those?
I never put my eyes on them.
Do you know when she received those?
I believe it was the weekend before the incident.
I'm assuming they were going to be used between you and Ms. Colley.
Yes, sir. I assume so.
They were just grasping at straws. Just shows how far they were reaching, trying to find some reason of why he was mad. That also was a dig to try to embarrass Amanda, and to kind of tarnish her reputation or tarnish her image.
On social media, the defense lawyer was attacked for what some saw as victim shaming.
That's the last thing I'm going to do is try to victim shame. I'm just trying to save JR's life to the best that I can.
Day 3 of a high-profile death penalty trial in St. Johns County.
And the defense had to decide whether James Colley should testify.
I think that JR is charismatic enough. He could have possibly, won over some sympathy votes. But, you never know. You get up there and you have a prosecutor, hammering it down your throat about calling your wife those names that you hear on the 911 call. So it was his choice at the end of the day not to testify.
The defense case lasted less than an hour, most of the time spent with Colley's sister, Rhonda.
What was your goal, I guess, in the relationship?
I guess I was kind of the go-between between the two of them. You know, I'm sorry. My brother was telling me you were having problems. He thought we were having an affair.
I wanted to try to show that as he was trying to save the marriage, Amanda was trying to get out of the marriage.
All right, now we'll get started with closing arguments. Katie, you may proceed.
Thank you. The evidence you've been presented in this case overwhelmingly and proves not only that the defendant committed these murders and all the other charges in the indictment, but why? He committed these murders and these acts because he was angry. Not a sudden anger, but an anger and a resentment that built over time. He committed these murders because he was rejected. Rejected by Amanda, who is asking you to return a verdict of guilty as charged as to all 7 counts in the indictment.
Just give me the orders I asked for, and I can move on. Just let me go. Those are the things that James Colley had asked me to write for some time, as he knew what was going on in her life. As he knew that there was a relationship between her and another man. But she continues to tell him, no, it's not what you think. There's nobody else. And it was this emotional roller coaster, back and forth, that led to these terrible, terrible events. Nothing was premeditated. Nothing was planned out. Just a snap reaction. And because of that, I would ask you to return for second-degree murder. Thank you.
Now proceed with the state's final closing argument.
The defense just told you that Amanda Colley is the reason why. That she is the reason this happened. She didn't give him the fortitude he needed. She didn't tell the truth. She wouldn't confirm what he already knew was true. It's her fault. That's what the defendant just told you. And he's here, as we know, to get across his point that she's evil, she's a bitch, and it's her fault. That's what he just stood up here and told you. All of Amanda's family and Lindy's family and friends were there. They were dressed in purple because that was, sort of the color of domestic violence remembrance.
Following the stand department to jury verdict, the jury finds the defendant James Terry Colley Jr. as the following. Guilty as charged of both first-degree premeditated murder and first-degree felony murder contrary to Florida Statute Section 78204.
And guilty on all the other counts, too.
Guilty as charged, guilty as charged, guilty as charged, guilty as charged.
Once they started checking the guilty boxes, they just kept checking, Kind of, he shook his head a little like, I expected it, something like that.
The James Colley case, when he was found guilty on all charges, he could face the death penalty. That same jury will have to determine what happens to him, and that penalty phase will begin today.
Amanda's sister, Tammy Malone.
She was smart.
She was funny, she was kind, compassionate, genuine. Her life mattered. It mattered to so many people in so many different ways, and he took that from all of us.
Lindy's husband, Chris Dobbins.
Little League Baseball games are attended with an empty blue chair. For Lindy to sit down and watch Patrick play. 8 swim team t-shirts signed with the Swimming for Lindy logo to remember his.
Colley's lawyer for the penalty phase, Gary Wood, thought his best case to prevent a death sentence was to present Colley as a man who was under the influence of Ambien.
The Ambien is known to, and did in this particular case, cause Mr. Colley not to remember and not to be able to perceive and deal with, from a mental health perspective, the things that were going on that morning, including court, and the events as they unfolded in this case. Mr. Colley was substantially impaired at the time of the shooting, and that will be for your consideration.
But in rebuttal, the prosecution played the video of Colley's court appearance just an hour before the murders.
Are you now under the influence of any intoxicants?
And then called as a witness the judge who presided at the hearing, Charles Tidland.
Do you have any concerns or impairment or his ability to understand?
I did not. I asked him if he was under the influence of any intoxicants. He told me he was not. There's no indication, nothing, demeanor indication he was under the influence of anything.
I knew exactly what he was going to testify to. I was hoping it wouldn't come across so strong for the state, but it really did. It came across great for them.
So, the defense was left with an appeal to the jury from Colley's sister, Crystal, who described family photos from a happier time.
That is my nephew Trey opening his birthday.
He was an amazing father.
Take a look.
He was a wonderful father.
The state may proceed with your closing argument. Amanda Colley and Lindy Dobbins were human beings, and now they're dead. And they're dead because of one man. The choices that one man made. What the defendant did in this particular case was horrific. It was unnecessary. I'm asking all 12 of you, not because I think you should or anybody thinks you should, because that's the right thing to do. And it's going to require courage to do it. The defendant deserves the death penalty.
He is to a human being in his life, in his career, in his family. I submit to you, should be taken into consideration and will be taken into consideration. If you impose a life without possibility of parole sentence for these counts, he will leave prison in a box. That's what that sentence guarantees. He's going to die in prison. That's what we're talking about.
JR always believed that people would see the whole situation and that they couldn't possibly give him the death penalty based on everything that happened. It was a mistake, and he really thought people would see that. You know, something that just happened because of the circumstances that occurred on that day.
Breaking news out of Florida right now. We're showing you a live picture out of the St. Johns County courtroom where it seems the jury has reached a verdict as to whether or not James Colley should get the death penalty.
All 12 has to be unanimous. If just one person doesn't want to do it, you're done. It's a life sentence at that point.
In the state of Florida, versus James Terry Colley Jr. We, the jury, unanimously find that James Terry Colley Jr. should be sentenced to death.
Judge in Florida can reduce a death sentence to life.
This is going to be the last chance to stay in this case. I'm sorry to say anything to the court this morning.
I'm sorry for all of them.
There was never an ounce of remorse that came from him.
I think what he was trying to, obviously, I can't put words in his mouth, but it was more of a, this is nothing that I intended to do, but it certainly didn't help his sentencing.
You characterize what happened in this case as a horrible accident. Nothing could be more further from the truth based upon the evidence that was presented in this case. For the first-degree murder of Amanda Colley, you are sentenced to death in the manner provided by Florida law. For the first-degree murder of Lindy Dobbins, you are sentenced to death.
You can see there the family of the victims, Amanda Colley and Lindy Dobbins, crying. And then on the other side of the courtroom, James Colley's family, he turns to them and says he loves them and gives them a wink as he is led away.
I just prayed. I prayed and cried. It doesn't bring her back, but at least she gets justice.
There is a park there that they dedicated not long after the murder. There's 5 children that lost their mothers on that day. So it's a generational grief. It's not something that's going to go away for the family.
So my hope would be that the right people would hear her story, would see this, and that at least take a look at the loss. I wish that there had been a mental health check-in with him. I wish that a deputy had escorted him home. Amanda had done what she could do within her rights, within the law. And an injunction is just a piece of paper. What I would want the viewers to know, always take domestic violence seriously, to not take anything lightly. Any act of violence, any act of aggression, to take it seriously, because you never know at what point it might escalate and something happen like what happened to Amanda.